All right, folks, get ready. Tonight we're diving deep into a match that's got the whole football world buzzing. Ecuador versus Venezuela. A World Cup qualifier in Quito on March 20th, 2025. And let me tell you, the stakes are absolutely through the roof.
What makes this matchup so fascinating is that we're witnessing two teams on very different trajectories. Both are hungry for a shot at that World Cup stage, but as we all know, it's the journey, not just the destination that counts.
I like that. So paint a picture for me. What makes this game so unique?
Well, on one hand, you've got Ecuador, a team I'd say that's really on the rise in South American football. Young, energetic squad, and their playing style. Absolutely electric. And we can't forget they're playing at home in Quito.
Quito.
Yeah.
The city at the top of the world. I've heard those stories about the altitude. Doesn't that give Ecuador a pretty massive advantage?
Oh, it does. Quito sits over 2,800 meters above sea level. And that thin air, let me tell you, can be a real shocker for visiting teams. While the Ecuadorians are used to it, their opponents often struggle with fatigue, shortness of breath. It can really change the game.
So it's almost like they have this hidden weapon even before the match begins.
In a way, yeah. But even without that altitude advantage, Ecuador's got some serious talent. Players like Moises Caicedo and Piero Hincapié, these guys are making waves globally, and they're leading this new generation of Ecuadorian stars.
Caicedo and Hincapié, yeah, those names are definitely buzzing right now. What makes them stand out?
Caicedo, he's a force in that midfield. Incredible ability to just control the pace of the game, break up those opponents' attacks, and launch into a quick counter. And Hincapié, he's like a rock, solid in the back, young but reads the game like a veteran, and his defensive skills, top-notch, already attracting attention from some of the biggest clubs in Europe.
So, young talent, home turf advantage. It sounds like Ecuador's got a pretty good shot here.
Yeah.
But no, you always like to look at both sides of the coin. Any chinks in Ecuador's armor?
Well, every team has its weaknesses, right? And Ecuador is no exception. I'd say the biggest issue is that tendency to over-rely on individual brilliance. They've got these incredibly talented players, but sometimes their team cohesion falters a bit, and when things get tough, they can struggle with discipline.
So finding that balance between unleashing their star power and making sure everyone's tactically on the same page. That's an interesting challenge, isn't it?
Do you think their coach, Felix Sanchez-Bass, has that in mind?
Sanchez-Bass, oh, he's known for his tactical flexibility. I'm sure he's aware of this. The real question is, can he get his players to buy into a more disciplined approach, especially in a high-pressure match like this one?
All right, so Ecuador's got the talent, but might need to tighten things up tactically. Now let's talk about Venezuela. I'm hearing whispers that they're not the pushovers they used to be. What's the story there? Venezuela has been on quite the journey these past few years. Their new coach, Fernando Batista, has completely changed their approach, focusing on youth development, playing with a newfound confidence, and they're not afraid to, go toe-to-toe with anyone.
I'm sensing a David versus Goliath narrative brewing here. What were some of the key moments that signaled this shift for Venezuela?
Well, look at their recent results. They've had some very impressive wins against Bolivia and even managed a hard-fought draw against Chile. Those are not easy feats in South American football, believe me.
So definitely not a team to be underestimated. And I'm guessing they've got some key players driving this resurgence.
Absolutely. Jefferson Savarino, he's a real creative spark in their attack. Got that ability to unlock defenses with a single pass or just a moment of brilliance. Then you've got Salomon Rondon, their veteran striker, a leader on and off the pitch and a real threat in the box.
Savarino and Rondon, the dynamic duo leading the charge. But we all know football is a team sport. Who else should we be watching out for on the Venezuelan side?
Yangel Herrera and Tomas Rincon, those guys anchor their midfield. Herrera brings that box-to-box energy, constantly making runs and disrupting the opponent's flow. Rincon, well, he's the experienced head, controls the tempo, provides that crucial defensive cover.
So Venezuela's got this blend of youthful energy and veteran experience. And if they can harness that, they could really make things difficult for Ecuador.
I'm starting to see why everyone's so hyped for this one. It's shaping up to be a clash of styles, a battle of wills, a real test for both teams. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? And listeners, what are you most excited about seeing in this matchup? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from y'all.
Couldn't agree more. This is a match where, honestly, anything could happen. We've got Ecuador, the rising force, home turf advantage, some serious firepower up front. Then we've got Venezuela, the underdog hungry to prove they belong among South America's best. Classic battle of styles, and I think the tactical side of things will be just as exciting as the action on the pitch, really. Okay, so we've got the stage set, players introduced, stakes are sky high. Now let's dive into the tactical chess match that's about to unfold. How do you see these two teams approaching the game?
Well, I think Ecuador will likely try to control possession, using their quick passing movement to create those chances. They'll be looking to exploit the spaces behind Venezuela's defense, take advantage of that altitude.
So a fast-paced, high-energy approach from Ecuador. Sounds like they'll be looking to impose their will from the get-go. But what about Venezuela? Will they just sit back, absorb the pressure, or come out swinging?
That's the big question. Venezuela's had success with a counterattacking style, but against a team like Ecuador, they might need to be a bit more proactive. I think they'll try to disrupt Ecuador's rhythm early, press high when they can, and look for those opportunities to hit on the break, using the speed of players like Savarino.
So we could be in for an end-to-end battle right from the whistle. This is already getting me on the edge of my seat. Now, for our listeners who might be newer to South American football, why is this midfield battle so crucial? What's going on in that central area that could really tilt the scales one way or the other?
You see, the midfield is kind of like the engine room of a football team. It's where battles are won and lost, tempo is set, and really where the game's narrative is shaped. In this match, I think this midfield clash is especially interesting because it pits two of South America's most promising young talents against each other. Moises Caicedo for Ecuador and Yangel Herrera for Venezuela.
Okay, break it down for me. What makes this specific matchup so captivating? What are we really watching when these two players go head-to-head?
Caicedo. He's a master at just disrupting the opponent's flow. Incredible anticipation, tackles with precision, and then has that vision to launch those quick counterattacks, the ones that Ecuador really thrives on. Herrera, on the other hand, he's all about energy and drive, covers every blade of grass, makes those late runs into the box, and can score goals as well as create them.
So it's a clash of styles, the disruptor versus the dynamo. Who do you think will have the upper hand in this midfield duel? How could that impact the flow of the game?
It's a real toss-up, and that's what makes it so exciting. If Caicedo can shut down Herrera's runs, dictate the tempo, Ecuador will be in a strong position. But if Herrera can break free, find space, Venezuela could really exploit those vulnerabilities to counterattacks. It'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
All right, we've got this midfield showdown brewing, but let's zoom out a bit. What about those other key matchups across the pitch? What should we be watching for?
Well, up front, we've got that classic battle of youth versus experience. Ecuador's got Ener Valencia, seasoned striker, real knack for scoring goals. He'll be going up against Venezuela's veteran defenders. Be interesting to see if Valencia's experience gives him the edge, or if Venezuela's backline can hold firm against that relentless pressure.
And on the flip side, you've got Salomon Rondon leading the line for Venezuela. He's a force to be reckoned with, isn't he? What kind of challenge does he pose for Ecuador's defense, particularly their young star, Piero Hincapié?
Rondon, he's a handful for any defender, believe me. He's strong, physical, great in the air, and he's got that incredible ability to hold up the ball, bring his teammates into play. For Hincapié, this will be a real test of his defensive skills. He's quick, agile, but he'll need to be at his absolute best to contain Rondon's power and experience.
All right, listeners, picture this. You're in the stands at the Estadio Olímpico Atahualpa in Quito. The crowd is going wild. Rondon gets the ball near the box. He's got Hincapié on his back, battling for position. What happens next? Share your predictions. We want to hear your take on how these epic encounters might unfold.
And while we're on the topic of epic encounters, let's not forget the battle of the goalkeepers. Alexander Dominguez for Ecuador and Wilker Fariñas for Venezuela. These are two shot stoppers who can absolutely steal a game, Incredible reflexes, those acrobatic saves.
Oh, absolutely. Goalkeepers are often the unsung heroes, but in a match like this, they could easily become the stars of the show. A last-minute penalty save, a fingertip deflection that sends the ball crashing against the crossbar. Those are the moments that people remember. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Any favorite goalkeeper moments come to mind for you?
Oh, so many. But one thing that stands out about Dominguez and Fariñas is their composure under pressure. They have this aura of calmness, even in those really heated moments, and that can be contagious for their teammates. In a game like this, with so much on the line, that kind of mental strength could be the difference maker.
Okay, so we've got the individual battles, the midfield clash, the strikers going head-to-head, and the goalkeepers ready to make those jaw-dropping saves. But let's not forget that elephant in the room, the altitude in Quito. You mentioned it earlier, but for those who might not be familiar, how does playing at such a high altitude actually impact the game?
It's not just being high up, it's the thin air. Less oxygen up there, which means players tire quicker, breathing gets heavier, and their decision-making can be affected. For those visiting teams not used to playing in those conditions, it can be a real struggle.
So it's not just a physical hurdle, it's a mental one too. How do you think Venezuela will try to adapt to playing in these unusual conditions? And listeners, how would you approach this challenge if you were in Venezuela's shoes?
Venezuela's coach, Fernando Batista, he's known for his tactical flexibility, so I'm sure he'll have a plan. They'll likely try to conserve energy, avoid pressing too high up the pitch for too long, and focus on a more counterattacking approach, making the most of those bursts of speed when they do have the ball. It'll be a delicate balancing act.
Sounds like a fascinating tactical puzzle, and I'm sure Batista's got his work cut out for him. But, upsets happen all the time in football. Maybe Venezuela can use the altitude to their advantage, catch Ecuador off guard with those quick transitions. Do you think there's a chance they could flip this challenge into an opportunity?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of football. It's unpredictability. You can analyze the tactics, assess the matchups, factor in all those external elements, but in the end, the game unfolds on the pitch and anything can happen. That's what keeps us all coming back for more.
Okay, we've got the established stars, the tactical battles, and that wild card of the altitude. But what about the future of these teams? Who are some of the rising stars, the young talents who could use this match as a springboard to even greater things?
Well, for Ecuador, keep an eye on Gonzalo Plata. Winger, incredible speed, dazzling footwork, and a knack for creating those moments of magic that can really ignite a game.
Plata, okay. I'll definitely be adding him to my watch list. He sounds like the kind of player who can change the game in an instant.
And what about Venezuela? Any young guns we should be watching out for on their side?
Jan Hurtado's a name to remember. Powerful young striker. Still a bit raw, but immense potential. He's got a nose for goal and a physical presence that can really unsettle even the most experienced defenders.
Hurtado, I like the sound of that. A young striker hungry for goals, that's always exciting to see. Now, we talked a lot about the tactical side, the matchups, the individual players, but football is not just about X's and O's, is it? There's that whole emotional dimension, the national pride, the passion that really fuels these matches.
You're absolutely right. These matches are more than just games. They're cultural events, a chance for fans to come together, express their love for the game, rally behind their national heroes. That atmosphere in the stadium, in Quito, electric. I can only imagine. The energy, the noise, the roar of the crowd. It must be an incredible experience. What do you think it means for the players to represent their country on a stage like this?
It's an immense honor and a responsibility. They're not just playing for themselves, they're carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire nation on their shoulders. That can be a heavy burden, but it can also be incredibly inspiring.
All right, so we've got the tactical chess match, the individual battles, that emotional intensity, the electrifying atmosphere. This is shaping up to be a match for the ages. What are your final thoughts before we move on to the bigger picture?
This match has all the ingredients for a classic. High stakes, contrasting styles, passionate fans, and that backdrop of national pride. It's a reminder that football is more than just a game. It's a story, a drama that unfolds on the pitch, and this is a story we're all eager to see unfold.
Okay, so let's step back from that immediate drama, zoom out a bit. We've talked about the implications of a win, loss, or draw in terms of World Cup qualification. But what about that broader impact? How could this match really shape the future of these two teams?
This match could be a turning point for both Ecuador and Venezuela, honestly. For Ecuador, a convincing win. That would really solidify their status as a rising power in South American football. It would show the world they're not just a team with potential, they're a team that's ready to compete at the highest level.
So it's about making a statement, establishing themselves as a force to be reckoned with. And what about Venezuela? What's at stake for them beyond just this result?
For Venezuela, a positive result, even a draw, would be huge. A real validation of their transformation under Batista. It would show that their investment in youth development, that tactical shift, their newfound confidence, it's all paying off. It'd be a signal that they're on the right track, that they belong among South America's elite.
It's almost like this match is a microcosm of their journey, defying expectations, challenging the established order, and showing the world they're a team to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this match so compelling. It's not just about those 90 minutes on the pitch. It's about the narratives that are being written, the legacies that are being built, and the future of football in both Ecuador and Venezuela.
Okay, folks, buckle up because we're about to shift gears and explore those potential long-term ramifications of this clash. When we come back, we'll be diving into those ripple effects this match could have on both these teams and what it could mean for their future on the international stage. Stay tuned. And we're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into Ecuador versus Venezuela. Man, this match has got us all fired up, and I know you guys, our incredible listeners, are feeling it too. We've dissected tactics, analyzed the players, and felt that raw emotion that's going to be pumping through this clash. But now it's time to look beyond the final whistle, right? What happens after the dust settles?
You know, we've talked about the impact this game has on their World Cup journeys, but it's that ripple effect, that potential to shape the future of these footballing nations that really gets me going.
Okay, let's play that out. Let's say Ecuador comes out strong, takes a convincing win. What kind of message does that send to the rest of South America, to the world?
A dominant win. That's a statement. It's a signal that they're not messing around, that Ecuador is a legitimate contender, not just in these qualifiers, but on the continental stage, maybe even the world stage. You know, it could even attract more scouts, more attention, lead to players signing with bigger clubs in Europe, really raise the profile of Ecuadorian football.
So it's about momentum, building a legacy, inspiring that next generation. All right, flip side. What if Venezuela pulls off the upset? We've talked about their transformation, but could a win in Quito be that ultimate proof that they've truly arrived? A win in Quito against a team like Ecuador in those conditions, that would be monumental for Venezuela. Shockwaves through South American football. It validates their new approach, give them a massive confidence boost. Could even lead to more investment, better infrastructure, long-term growth and development.
Wow. So it's a potential turning point, a moment that could really reshape Venezuelan football for years to come. Now, what if it ends in a draw? What happens then? What are the implications?
Well, a draw wouldn't be the end of the world for either team, but it would feel like a missed opportunity, especially for Venezuela. They really need those wins to climb the table, keep those World Cup dreams alive.
So keeps things moving for Ecuador, but might be a bit of a setback for Venezuela's hopes.
Okay, before we wrap things up, gotta ask you, from your expert perspective, what are you personally most excited to see in this match? Tactical masterclass, a moment of individual brilliance, something else entirely?
Honestly, I'm fascinated to see how Venezuela handles playing in Quito. Can they overcome the altitude, that intense home crowd, Ecuador's attacking power, their resilience, their tactical discipline? It's all going to be tested. Can they rise to the occasion? That's what I want to see.
The underdog story. The battle against the odds. And I gotta say, I'm right there with you. There's something so compelling about a team defying expectations and proving that anything is possible, right? That's the magic of the game.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This match is a reminder that football is full of surprises. The underdogs can always find a way to shine. It's about the human spirit, the will to overcome, the power of belief.
Well said. Any final thoughts for our amazing listeners out there?
Don't just watch this match, experience it. Soak in that atmosphere, appreciate the tactical battles, feel the emotion that drives these players. And remember, football is meant to be shared, debated. So let us know what you think, your predictions, your favorite moments in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys.
Absolutely. And if you're hungry for more deep dives into the world of football, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and share the love with your fellow fanatics. This is just the beginning, folks. We've got so much more to explore. Till next time, keep that passion for the beautiful game burning bright.